What was the incident at your school? Removed. It's a toss-up between a serial killer leaving one of his poor victims right next to the grounds, or when I woke up 5 weeks into year 10th, freshman year, to find the school was 2 meters in debt and was closing down at the end of the week. Can we back up to the serial killer one though? Holy hell. Stephen Wright is known as the Suffolk Strangler, and the year before I joined this school he began strangling women. One of the victims' bodies was left out in the woodlands next to the school. A Daily Mail correspondent actually had the nerve to say that the killings were no great loss because the women killed were sex workers and addicted to drugs. Someone was smoking in the toilet and threw it in the bin. The bin caught fire and then set the toilets on fire. Okay, how TF does a toilet go on fire? Fart is flammable. Someone used a broom to write shit in the boys' bedroom bathroom wall using shit as paint. Then one Monday, when the school was opened, there was a massive turd in the middle of the girls' bathroom. Later that day, the students discovered that liquid soap had been exchanged for piss. Finally, a girl tried to blow up a toilet in the boys' bathroom using a massive amount of firecrackers, but was caught, which led to the theory that everything was an ever-scaling prank war between one boy and one girl. Why does the weirdest stories always involve the school toilets? No CCTV. Kid shit in the sink. Several times. The serial pooper. The boys' bathroom is closed until further notice. Okay. Because one of you boys thought it would be a good idea, okay, to pull down your pants, hover your butt cheeks over the urinal, and squeeze out a chocolate hot dog. Some kid just a little bit ago told 4 of my school's football players to stay home one day. One kid told his parents and his mom called our school. The kid was going to shoot up our football team apparently. I'm glad I do online schooling. Was he the quiet kid? I'm not quite sure. He was in a grade below me, so I don't really know the kid. All I know is he hates football players for some reason. 2 kids brought guns to school. We were ripped out of our cars in the parking lot and dragged to the gym. Why we weren't told to drive away is beyond me. We sat there all day. Local SWAT team came and got the 2 idiots. The guns were non-functional Civil War replica guns. Probably one of the dumbest SWAT raids LMAO. An idiot broke some cheap lab equipment as a joke. When he got caught and was punished, he broke even more and expensive lab equipments. Didn't get caught this time. Later upped the game and went in and destroyed even more stuff. Got caught and became known as the infamous lab destroyer by the whole school. Breaks equipment and gets in trouble. Proceeds to break more expensive equipment underscore. Football player got drunk at a party. Came home. Put a pot on the stove. Then passed out. The house caught fire, killing him and his handicapped sister trapped on the 2nd floor. Principal learned of the other kids at the party and suspended them days before the last football game of the season. Parents freaked out, lambasted the principal, and called the original player a hero. Apostrophe. In which part did he become a hero? Imsolostlmayo. Being football player equals hero. That's the logic. Anyone who dared question that was shunned. This kid got in an ATV accident and suffered serious and permanent brain damage. He was a big asshole before the crash. I had gotten into quite a few scuffles with him. One time I got slammed into a locker over it. So he comes back as a special ed student. Totally different person now with no memory and the intellectual ability of like a 4-year-old. And everyone was so moved and rallying around him like a hero. But I was back in the corner, saying duck that guy, holding a grudge, not feeling all that bad. All these years later, I do feel bad. That did really suck, that he didn't get a chance to become the drunk asshole farmer he was going to become. Did his personality change for the better because of the crash? Not sure he really had much of one. His brain was pretty busted, could barely even feed himself. Not sure how he's doing these days, 20 years later. I moved a few times as a kid, so here are a few fun stories. In my first elementary school, half of the school was taken down by a nasty storm that blew through the city. The school was kind of sectioned into the kindergarten/primary 1 2 3, secondary 4-6, and tertiary 7 to 8 grades. I was in grade 3 at the time, and the school was installing skylights in the primary and secondary halls. I think the storm was the edge or the tail end of a hurricane, because the streets were absolutely flooded. We had huge chunks of hail, and the lightning was terrifying. All of the primary classrooms were buried, and some of the secondary classrooms were, too. I spent the rest of that year learning in the teacher's lounge, and my friend's class was moved to the library. In my second elementary school, there was a bomb threat. I was in grade 5 or 6, and our classroom was a portable. There weren't any announcements or code reds called over the PA system. Each classroom was called individually, and we were told by our teacher that we weren't allowed out to go to the main school building for any reason. It was near the end of the day, maybe a couple hours left. They kept us after the final bell for a little while, too, until we got the all clear to leave. In my first high school, someone got stabbed on the main stairs. I can't remember if I was there when it happened, but it was totally out of the blue. Was talked about for weeks after, until everyone moved on. The kid lived in my second high school. Someone took a shit in one of the stairwells. It became immortalized, and I don't even know if I was at that school when it happened. But everyone knew which set of stairs was the one that some person just decided to take a dump in. TL. Doctor. 3/4 schools had major violent incidents. The 4th just had some dude who decided to shit in the stairwell. Guess which one was the downtown school? These kids' mom got killed by her boyfriend. He chopped her head off with an axe in the garage after shooting her in the house. The 911 call placed by the guilty boyfriend was absolutely haunting. The children were high school age and got a lot of community support, but reasonably were never the same again. Edit. Guy on my golf team also ran away to West Virginia for 3 days and had the police all over the place thinking he was a threat to the school. They found him. He was just another stoner kid and was never a threat to anyone. Lots of commotion for a rural school. Boy and girl had their mom killed. Reread it 3 times before working out it wasn't a contract killing. Haha, my whoops. I was unsure how to phrase it to get the details correct. A student punched a teacher. I don't know everything else but that. Lol, my school was similar, but the teacher tried to break up a fight between 2 boys. So one of the boys turned around and threw a chair at him. Senior prank 1 year. A couple years before I got there, the FFA seniors thought it would be funny to sneak into the school at night. And with them, they brought a cow. And if you don't know, the thing about cows is that they can go upstairs just fine, but they can't go downstairs. So school starts next day and they see this cow on the 2nd floor wandering the hallway, munching on hay. Shit everywhere. We had a single elevator for students with disabilities, but it is really just big enough for a wheelchair and the person pushing the chair. As I understand it, they had to basically shove that cow into our tiniest elevator to get it out safely. Where the duck did they even get a cow from? FFA is the future farmers of America, and many of those students live on farms already. I'm sure they took it off their own farm to bring in. Rural Kentucky is a funny place. One kid got high on LSD and brought a BB gun to school. He didn't even shoot anyone, and he got arrested. I was sick that day. It's always that one day when we're sick and something crazy happens. In 2016 we got a new principal. Within the first term, it's announced the one girl in my year, grade 11, is pregnant, and soon after, one of the boys in my year died of heart failure on the flight back from an overseas rugby tour. Can't imagine the pressure the principal was under. Girl was a bitch though, at least the baby daddy is a cool guy. He and I have mutual friend. The boy's family seem to be holding up fine now, though they obviously still miss him. School staff often undergo extreme pressure, and not many people realize. A teacher was arrested because he was dating a 17 years old from another class. A girl kidnapped her boyfriend for 4 months to try and give him Stockholm Syndrome. He escaped and she was jailed. He is great now. Bruh. Kidnapped for 4 whole months. Why did she do that? She wanted him to fall in love with her. Mark Glass got caught jerking off behind the stage during a play. Was the play hot? No, it was like Grease or some shit. Bomb threat of the 2015 to 2016 school year. Over 80% of the school population was freaking out because this was their first one and had no idea that all they had to do was sit in the stadium. They freaked out and called their parents to come get them, and when about 1,600 parents showed up, police damn near lost control of the situation. Another incident was during an award ceremony and police had come in to remove a student for assault on a female. Well, homeboy started fighting the resource officer and we were videoing this because the whole school was supposed to watch, and it broke out. I turned the camera towards the fight because the ceremony went full stop when this happened, and the dude fought for 10 minutes. I had no teacher to stop me from recording because the teacher who was supposed to be supervising me was stuck teaching a class, and I was the only one who knew how the whole video streaming system in the school worked because I was taught by the previous teacher before he had a stroke that put him into early retirement. Got a week of OS over that. I've got plenty more, but those were the two off the top of my head that were most recent. Was this in Ohio? North Carolina? Oddly enough, I'm from Ohio, so I'm not shocked that you're asking if it was. Which one? My first day of kindergarten, we had a man with a chain saw threatening to kill everyone. I was in the restroom when it started, so a random teacher grabbed me and pulled me in her class, and I spent the day on lockdown with strangers. My whole school experience was pretty ghetto and wild, but on a happier note. Once someone tagged the whole high school with "fuck Alicia Keys," and no one knew why, but we got a good laugh about it. Guy started peeing through the window during class. That's what happens when the teacher says no for going to the washroom. Pretty much. One kid said he had to go. Teacher said no, so he walked up to the front of the room, whipped it out, and pissed in the garbage bin. She told him to get out and go to the washroom, and he just looked at her and said, "Why? I don't need to anymore." There was another kid who had pretty severe autism and tried to pee on the one tree in the schoolyard during lunch because they wouldn't let anyone go back in once we were outside. Well, thing is, it was a windy day, and he pissed against the wind, completely covering himself. It was windy enough that it basically looked like a spray/mist, so it wasn't like it was just a couple drops or anything. Felt bad for the guy, but it was honestly kind of funny at the time. 5th grader knocked out a 12th grader with an iron pole. Kids got some moves. In primary school, 2 kids were analing each other in the toilets. I'm the person that walked in on them. It was very awkward. It's either that, my 11th grade physics teacher to be disappeared the day before school started. Greater than sign exclamation mark. He was a gay porn star and the school found out and got him out of there quietly as possible. Exclamation mark. Clearly we still found out. One girl was doing heroin with 2 of her buddies and she odd. Greater than sign exclamation mark. Rather than turning themselves in by trying to get her medical attention, they let her die and took her body out into the woods in the hopes that no one would find it. Exclamation mark. It was found. And I think this one is the best. There was a Dropbox account shared by some of the popular junior and senior boys, which was for the sole purpose of keeping nudes that the girls had sent them. Any nudes sent to any of these popular boys went into the shared folder for all of that friend group to see. There were a lot of photos in it of a lot of different girls. When it was found out, they all went to court, and I think one guy was tried for child pornography as an adult because he was 18. Oh Jesus. 2 Mali students caught giving each other blowjobs in the changing room. I feel like they low-key deserved it for doing it in the school changing room. At least they were caught by the gym teacher. Oh no, that makes it worse. Oh. Also accidentally wrote it in comments instead of replying, my bad lol. The students actually studied something at school once. Unbelievable. Okay, that's the biggest lie in the comment section. We had quite a few. From an ARC joining the school and busting 8 students and a teacher for selling weed to a teacher sleeping with a student. Personally for me was a student that died in a car accident on a windy road out in the country. A few months later, 2 students wrecked their truck while looking at his memorial. One of them died. I've never understood that. This section of road is so dangerous, somebody died here. Let's put a distraction here. 2. The Chuck P incident. The guidance counselor has scheduled an assembly for our K8 building that included a visit from a local TV celebrity, Cuddles the Clown. The day of the assembly, Cuddles arrived before the start of the school day and parked in the back of the building. The guy was already in his clown make-up and drove a panel van with his picture on the side. Before he could get out of his van, a group of 8th grade boys came up to his vehicle and started pounding on it. They rocked it back and forth, basically terrorizing Cuddles, his wife and their little dog. When Cuddles got out to go confront the boys, several pulled out squirt guns full of urine and they start spraying him. He ran into the building to get help, and while he did, one of the boys whipped out his dick and peed in the guy's gas tank. Eventually Cuddles came back with the counselor and the boys took off. Cuddles and his wife were so shook up by the incident, they cut their visit short and left after only presenting to the early elementary kids. On his way out, he let us know that we were the worst school he'd ever been in and had never come back. The boys involved in the incident basically got away with it. The principal was useless and so adverse to conflict she wasn't going to push it. And the father of the boy who instigated things was a huge arsehole who had harassed teachers in the past. Holy hell. Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.